Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. Today I am having a look at my first buy since my hiatus ended, the HongDian Qin Dynasty series fountain pen in the silver and red trim. I thought that this is the perfect first pen to get back into it. One, because well, I haven't looked at a HongDian fountain pen for a while, and second, look at it. It's kind of hard to ignore it. I end up purchasing this fountain pen from AliExpress for around 67 Canadian dollars with free shipping, and I just got it about 3 days ago, and I'm really excited to try it out. Bringing you in for a closer look, the design of the fountain pen, it's quite amazing. The attention to detail and the way everything fits in nicely and perfectly, it is a really well done pen. I have to admit that the price that I pay for it, I can see it was worth it, and I understand why it does cost that much more. Anyway, I guess let me go into it and give a few descriptions. Starting with the top finial, we do have a very interesting design. Nothing removable, but the end is pretty much flat, almost like a mushroom. I do not know if the design on top of it means anything, but one thing is for sure, it's definitely pleasing to look at. And as I mentioned, the top looks more like a mushroom, and it has a really nice gothic design, almost like. I'm not sure if these type of designs are in the Chinese culture. If you do know, please let me know in the comments below, but I do love the look of it. One thing that I really like seems to be like two separate sheets of metal on top of each other. So basically you do have the silvery, I guess skeleton-like look that is on top, and then you have the red tube or another sheet of metal that comes underneath it, and you can actually basically put your finger in there and you can feel that these two things are separate and just on top of each other. And yeah, the effect and the result, is beautiful. It's hard to ignore it. The clip, it's just as well designed, and I think there's a little bit of some sort of a shellac in there that covers especially this Chinese markings that you have at the end of the arrow. Obviously, I do not know what it means or if it even means anything. And then we do have some Chinese characters right on the ring from the cap. A very interesting thing, it seems like we have two sort of a dragons, looks to me like. I'm not 100% sure if it is a dragon or if it represents something else. We have one on the other side as well, and they're pretty much kind of facing each other in there. Really well executed. I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. Not much that I can say other than just show you the design. They have a few other color versions, but as far as I've seen, the design elements are pretty much the same, just different colors. I'll be honest, I wanted to buy all of them, but unfortunately, because the price is a little bit higher than the usual fountain pens from them, I only end up getting one for now. Maybe if in the future the prices are gonna go lower, I'll end up buying the other versions as well. Unless these are some sort of a limited production, which that would suck. Anyway, going back to it, the cap pretty much straight except the mushroom top and of the cap and I guess 4-ring band that we have at the end of the cap. Clip, very beautiful, very stiff, fairly functional. Doing a test shirt, slides in very nice, Feels very secure in there. I mean, I don't know who will put this in their shirt. The pen, it's quite heavy, but this is what you will see from your shirt, or at least from your pen case. And it removes just as nicely, grabs in on the cloth pretty nicely and securely, so I don't think there'll be any issues. After the ring band, there's a little bit of a lip and then a step down. Then again, a pretty much straight barrel, considering that this is a piston filler. That will be important. And we do have two chromish rings in there with different patterns on them. And then the chromed piston knob, which works very nice. And the good thing about it is that you can use the tool that you use for the other piston fillers as well. I've taken it apart, and as you can see in the image, the actual piston mechanism is a little bit slightly different designed. I tried to see if I can increase the ink capacity. You can, unfortunately though, since this is not transparent, it will be a little bit hard to see what you're doing in there. So as you keep on creeping a little bit more and more, you have to keep on checking and make sure that this knob bottoms out nicely on the end of the barrel. I didn't gain that much more ink capacity, but something that maybe is worth trying it out and see your results. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, since you can't really see the piston anymore, it will be very hard to gauge how far you have to go. So it will take you a couple of tries to get the right setting for that. The piston knob, as you can see, has quite a beautiful design as well. Again, hard to describe it. It's just a matter of seeing it, and it's beautifully executed. No seams at all that I can see, and everything is perfectly executed. The top of the piston knob, very simple, has two Chinese characters that I don't know what they mean, and I don't know if I'm holding it in the right direction. For me, it could be like this, could be like this, or like this, or like this. If you do know, please leave a comment in the description, and it would be nice to know what it means and what's the actual correct orientation. Cap twist to open. It opens under a turn, very quick to open, very nice and smooth. Looking inside the cap, we do have a plastic inner liner, and that helps with the smoothness of the cap. Nothing really important, or at least out of the ordinary. And you will also be able, I'm not sure if the light can show in here, but you'll be able to see the two metal tubes, one on top of each other, or at least one inside each other. And then we basically have the plastic inner liner as the third tube in there. Going back to the fundament, a silver or chromed section that is not slippery because of all these ridges in there, and because of the dimples that you have at the end, that pretty much looks like rivets on every, I guess you could call them squares. The grip, it's actually really nice. This thing is not gonna slide out of your hand by any chance. And what I like is that the design is made in such a way that everything fits nicely and then nicely. Pattern repeats beautifully, and those rivets looks just as nice, pretty much like you have them on the barrel. And I like that. I'm curious if over time this will easily basically kind of wear out a little bit, and you will have like the edges a little bit more silvery, and that will probably give a nice wear out effect on them. One thing that I like about this fountain pen is that it looks like they redesigned the nib a little bit and the feed and the nib unit. The entire nib and feed seems to be more out of the nib unit. The nib looks a little bit longer than the other nibs that I have, the number 6 ones, and I really like this feed. It has a little bit of wings on the side, round. To me, sounds like plastic, so most probably it's a plastic feed. But the way it looks like seems like a well-designed feed. I like this change. Going up on the barrel, we do have ink windows, very tiny ink windows. There's one here and one on the other side. Kind of very hard to see in there. You pretty much have to keep it against the light to see anything through that. That's one change that I don't know if I like it that much, even though design and how they have the pattern in there is quite nice. I much prefer the other big ink windows that they had on their piston fillers. Maybe if they would have made that window over 2 of these squares rather than just one, so basically you have like one big squarish ink window on the side and the other one on the other side, would have been better. That it's too squinty. That's the best word that I have for it. Anyway, design wise, continues beautifully with 4 rows of squares, another a silver ring, 3 rows of square, a silver ring, and 3 rows of square. The beautiful part of it is that if you cap the pen, one of the square rows disappears, and when you look at it, you pretty much have 3, 3, and 3. So there was a lot of thought put in the design of this fountain pen. I don't think this was just a mistake or a happy accident. This is well designed. I love it. And again, the piston knob, that is very smooth, not an issue with it. And I'll put the picture again in here. As I mentioned, the piston component seems to have been redesigned. We don't really have a lot of plastic in there. That entire mechanism seems to be made out of aluminium. The only plastic pieces is basically the plunger with the rubber on it, and that, I guess I'll call it a screw that helps to guide the plunger up and down inside the barrel. And to compare it with the latest, or the other all-metal body piston filler that they had, the Hero 100, the new Dynasty series fountain pens are definitely larger, a little bit wider, a little bit longer, as you can see, and definitely heavier than the 100. Speaking of sizes, weight, and dimension are in the description if you're curious. And to quickly demonstrate what I was saying about the nib and feed, basically, as you can see, the new nib seems to be a little bit more out. Hopefully you can pick up that in the video. And a definitely much nicer feed design when compared with the default bland feed that the previous fountain pen had. And again, definitely a longer fountain pen in every way and sense. I don't know if he has more ink capacity. I kind of doubt it, but definitely a larger pen. And I do dig that longer section that the new pen comes with. In hand, the pen feels nice, at least for my hand. It feels a little bit top heavy, but when I hold it here, it's not that bad, especially the way it's resting on my knuckle right there. In here, I don't really feel that top that much. It's still pretty well balanced. Speaking of that, the balance is just slightly towards the top, so that doesn't make it so unbalanced. It's quite comfortable, and I think I will be using this pen mostly unposted. I doubt I will ever use it posted, because while it does post securely and the cap sits in there, it doesn't go very deep, and at the same time makes the fountain pen very top heavy. I actually feel that cap weighting down the pen and makes the pen extremely long. I feel that cap, unless I write very straight with the pen almost basically perpendicular on the paper, this will definitely feel annoying. If you have smaller hands, unless you really enjoy the feeling of top heavy pen, you will definitely hate this. And the other issues that I have with this pen is that it posts on the piston knob, and you can easily turn that knob because there is no locking mechanism for the knob. So while it does post securely, I will definitely only use this pen unposted. But even so, the length is definitely better. As I mentioned, it is longer than the other piston fillers that HongDian has made so far. And that's about it. I could sit here and basically admire this fountain pen until morning. It's really hard to take my eyes off of it. There are other versions that I like. I like the green and gold, and I even like the black and gold, which is kind of my favorite color combination, black and gold or black and orange. And I'll probably, hopefully, be able to buy them sometime in the future. If not, I'm still happy with this silver and red. Anyway, I'll stop touching it and admiring it, and I'll go and ink it up, and I'll come back with a writing sample. For today's ink, I decided to use the Monteverde Black Ash ink. Haven't used it for a while. Hopefully will work out well with this fountain pen. One thing that I forgot to mention, the nib on this fountain pen, it's called Iraurita style nib. Basically looks like a blade nib, as they like to call it, just on a more finer level. Looks nice. I definitely like the grind that I have on it, and hopefully will work out well for my type of writing and my style of drawing. Never used a nib like this for a drawing, so I'm curious how it's gonna end up. So this is HongDian Dynasty series. Fountain pen. A very interesting nib. It feels wider than I personally like to use. Definitely wider on the side strokes and thinner on the downstrokes. Very wet nib, very well flowing. As a matter of fact, I didn't even wash this pen and it just works nicely. So I think I'm gonna enjoy this nib, especially for filling in black areas or dark areas. And depending on how you hold the pen, you definitely get some line variations in there. And on reverse, beautiful extra fine line in there. Nice. And it flows very well. All right, I'm digging it so far. I like it. All right, I like the nib. I dig it. It feels a little bit awkward for me because of how I'm holding the pen, and maybe I don't get the best out of that blade ground design. But I do like it, and I think I'm gonna be able to make it work somehow for my sketch. Very smooth. I love it. Alright, so I'm digging the fountain pen. I like that nib. And let me jump into a sketch. Hopefully I'll get something nice with it. If not, again, I'll test it for at least 2 hours or so while I'm doing my drawing, and I'll let you know my final thoughts on this fountain pen. Today's drawing was random. Didn't really have an idea that I could start with, so I just started adding some random circles and lines on the page, and eventually I got something. Can't really describe what I got, but the closer I can get to it, some sort of a city, maybe? What do you think? I do like it, not sure what to call it. The good news is that I really enjoy the fountain pen, and I think so far this is my favorite piston filler from HongDian. And I do dig that nib as well. It definitely works well for drawing. Especially the reverse. I really like that fine line that it gives. Not the best nib for filling in things, but still better than nothing. I really do like it. Speaking of, what do I like about the HongDian Qin Dynasty fountain pen? Well, first thing I have to say is the looks. When I was browsing on AliExpress, this thing popped from everything on the page. I didn't even notice it was a HongDian fountain pen until I opened the ad and noticed the name on one of the pictures. I like the fact that it comes in a few color trims as well, and all of them are striking, in my opinion at least. If it would have not been for the higher prices that they're selling at, I would have probably got all the versions, except the gold nib version. That is maybe a little bit overpriced for what it is. The other thing that I like, and maybe not a big thing to mention, I really am pleasantly surprised by the redesigned feed and nib unit, and how much more the nib is outside of that nib unit. Definitely a nice change in my opinion. Other things, love the all metal construction and the design that it has, and most probably that metal it's some sort of a type of stainless steel. I do like the new redesigned piston mechanism. I love the beautiful nib, smooth and interesting. My first nib of this type. It does post securely if needed, and overall a really well executed and designed fountain pen in my opinion. Is there anything that I dislike about it? There are a couple of things that I don't really like, but not enough to not love the overall fountain pen. While it posts, it is very top heavy, and you can easily turn the knob for the piston since there is no locking mechanism. The other thing, I don't dig the tiny ink windows. I much prefer the previous version. And lastly, while I like the new design for the piston mechanism, I am a little bit concerned about that new screw for the plunger and how it connects to the actual knob. A lot of play in there, and I could see those plastic tabs at the end to wear out with use. I'd recommend to use silicone grease on those parts. Those tabs, including the actual screw, doesn't come greased from factory, at least mine did not. When I took it apart, to check it out, I also made sure I had silicone grease on every single moving part. Overall, I like this fountain pen and design that it has. I like the small improvements and I honestly have no issues recommending it. And based on how fast it seems to sell, seems to be fairly popular. The only bad thing about that is that it keeps on driving the price higher. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the time lapse and if you have any other questions, please leave a comment below and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me today. I hope I'll see you next time and I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Take care. Bye.